All right. Welcome back to Misery Point Radio. Good to have you back. You know, I was feeling a little nostalgic recently, and as I was cruising through the Book of Faces one day, I saw some videos of this amazing band that I had the opportunity to interview back in March of this year. And this band is called Harder Than Contra. And they are quickly becoming one of my favorite bands ever. Mostly because they have a completely unique and original concept. See, they play awesome hard rock / orchestral renditions of classic video game music. And those of you that know me know that I have been involved in the video game industry for quite some time in a retail capacity and as a fan. And so their music really hits home with me, and I just can't seem to get these songs out of my head. So as I'm watching some of these videos online from these guys, I was telling myself, you know, I really need to revisit this episode because it is one of my favorites. And while I have it slated to do a follow-up with them when their new album is out, I figured, why wait until the album is finished? Why not just give people a chance to hear the episode who may not have heard it last time around? And I promise you, it is a super fun, super awesome episode. Ethan and Pat are amazing, as is the rest of the band, of course, who sadly weren't there at the time of the interview. But nonetheless, it was a fantastic time, and I remember it very fondly. And as a side note, after the interview was over, I got stuck in a snowstorm on the way back home in March, which was fucking crazy. Yeah, so for about 3 hours I got stuck in the snow, and it's worth noting that on the way there, the weather was perfectly clear. So, over the course of the 2 or so hours that I got to hang out with these guys, the powers that be decided, we're gonna punish you a little bit for your prior life transgressions. But it was worth it. So, I hope that you don't mind me cross-posting this. And even if you do mind, it doesn't matter. It's my goddamn show. So, please enjoy this blast from the On the Edge past. So, are you ready for some old school awesomeness? I think you are. Here we go. I'm here with Harder Than Contra in their super secret, nobody can know the location studio, the Lair. Guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, no, well, thanks for having me because I'm invading your space today.
Welcome.
So
because we're lazy.
First time ever I've gone on location to actually do the podcast. So you guys are breaking my travel cherry, and I appreciate it.
All right. So it tastes so good.
So I could introduce you, but it's funner if you introduce yourself. So tell us who you are.
My name's Ethan Bott. Play co-lead guitar.
Boom.
Yeah. I'm Patrick. I play the co-shred line guitar in the band. And yeah, that's me.
So we were supposed to have some more peeps here today. Sadly, there was some life events that prohibited others from joining in. But how many in your band? Like you said, 10?
We got 10.
Yeah.
We got, I guess I can list them off. We got on drums, we got Will.
Yeah.
Will Andrews. And on...
Who you've probably heard.
Yeah, he's in a band called 10 Miles Wide. Really great band. And then we got Vinny Christ and Sarah on clarinet for Sarah, and we got trombone for Vinny. Eli's on trumpet. We got Eric on bass, and he's in a band called Headswell. He plays guitar and sings in Headswell. And then we got, who am I forgetting? Jansen on a tenor sax. We've got James Miles on bari sax.
And alto.
And alto, yeah. I got Brian. Brian was originally playing like 5 instruments, and then it just kind of became clarinet and bass clarinet. But he was originally playing oboe, but as well.
It's just amazing to me, by the way.
Yeah, the idea of I think the big thing was the idea of bringing his oboe to like downtown Seattle.
Yeah,
on a shady night.
Yeah, oboes are like $20 million. So, I mean, if you lose your oboe, you're fucked.
I think the clarinet just kind of worked better.
Yeah, clarinet, it's easier to get through and everything. Right. But I mean, his clarinets aren't cheap, but then his I mean, he does take his bass clarinet.
Actually, now that I think about it, Sarah, I think, plays the most instruments in the band right now. She plays
Sarah
recorder,
plays clarinet, recorder,
piccolo. Yeah, and she's subbing in Barry Sax in another band. She's amazing.
Yeah.
And is that all of them? Or do we forget anybody?
I think that's the whole bit.
Man, somebody's going to be mad at us.
Oh, God.
That's something I'm famous for is I'll say the last name of one person and then just like go.
Well, if you forget somebody, then you can just send me it and I'll add it in there magically.
Transcribe in a different voice. We got. And here's Steve. We also have Kyle. Yeah.
I'll just pretend to be
big
that person.
shout out. Yeah. And I guess it's good to mention too. Ethan does all the arranging for the guitar side, rock band side of the music, and Vinny does all the arranging for the horns, so that one person doesn't have to arrange 10.
Yeah, that's
10 parts.
Yeah. So the concept for your band is astounding to me. So basically, Harder Than Contra, which we'll talk about that name in a minute because I love it. And by the way, I'm wearing my old school Splatterhouse t-shirt in case you guys didn't know that.
TurboGrafx, right? Yeah.
So Harder Than Contra does this crazy amalgam of orchestral hard rock covers of old school video game music. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, that's pretty dead on.
Yeah, and so the number of people in your band, I would assume that based off what the source material is, it would be difficult to do without a large number of people in the band. I mean, you could just do a drum, bass, guitar, vocal cover, or whatever, and make it like metal or whatever. But having that full arrangement is epic.
Yeah.
So tell us how you guys got started on that.
Well, actually, we started Ethan and I were learning these tunes just as practice because they're stupidly hard to play on a guitar. So we would just kind of go hang out for a weekend and be like, hey, let's see if we can play the Clock Tower theme from Castlevania 3. Yeah. And, sit and practice for out and, work on it and then get it done and then be like, cool, we did it. And then years later, after we'd kind of learned a bunch of these songs, it got out and almost everybody in the band is associated through a similar work environment. We're all either guitar teacher or we're all either teachers or repair techs, and almost all of us in one way or another work for Bill Kennelly of the Kennelly Keys music stores in town. Okay. And so it was all kind of like this network of people, and we knew that we didn't want to have keyboards. That was like the only thing.
Is there no keyboard in your band?
There's no keyboards.
Nothing against keyboardists, by the way.
We just wanted to make sure that anything that we play has to be played.
Yeah.
So keyboard players, you heard it here first.
I mean, keyboard players are amazing and can do a lot of great stuff, but when you see a keyboard up there that is capable of playing the entire song on its own,
this is true.
I'm like, I want to make sure that there's not even a doubt. So
no samples.
Yeah, no samples. So when you hear us playing something, we're playing it.
Right.
Yeah.
And the idea of us performing this initially was never more than let's just go in and record backing tracks and play to it.
Right.
And then it just kind of got
as
out.
a practice mechanism,
Totally.
just to kind of build your chops up or whatever.
Yeah. And then people got wind of it and they're like, hey, man, I hear you're playing video game music. Can I play?
I want to play.
Can I be in your band?
Yeah, the next thing you know, we're like, yeah, sure.
Whole neighborhood's in your band all of a sudden.
We're like, crap, we got 10 people.
Well, it was funny. There's a couple members. Pat and I definitely grew up playing. Ninja Gaiden, Mega Man, Zelda, stuff like that. But there was a couple people who were like not necessarily video game fanatics, just excellent musicians. And when they heard the tunes, they're like, these songs are legitimately awesome.
Right.
They assume that there's kind of a kitsch element to it because it's video game music. But the stuff from Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy, they're legitimate compositions.
Right.
And that was kind of what I was kind of hoping is to show off that these songs they stand on their own, and they just happen to be in video games.
Yeah. So, how does the process go where you basically say, okay, I want to learn this part from, say, Legend of Zelda? Do you literally rework the whole thing, or are you just kind of going note for note, or is there some interpretation in it?
There's not one way. It kind of depends. Some songs are really sparse, so we end up adding a bunch of stuff. Vinny's excellent at that, by the way. Like, if you look at a lot of the old 8-bit Nintendo stuff, it's not actually capable of doing a lot of tracks because of whatever chip they're using on the Nintendo. I think it only has, what's it capable of doing, like 2 tracks, 4 tracks?
I think you can only make like 4 or 8 sounds at a time or something like that. It's very limited.
I think it's
to the
even less
number.
than it's like maybe even 2. So at first there was a lot of doubling where like I'd play harmony number 1, and then Pat would be playing harmony number 2, and then we would just have somebody else in the band doubling it, and then somebody playing the bass, and then somebody doubling the bass. But Vinny got creative and started adding in counter melodies, and so you'd hear like I was as surprised as anybody sometimes when we'd be playing, and I'd hear like a new melody on the clarinet. Like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
And,
Stop everything. That was great.
And then we started elaborating. So sometimes instead of playing a unison, we'd start doing harmonies. And the solos, we'd always kind of write our own solos, And in some cases, we'd take liberties. And we didn't think anybody would notice, but every once in a while somebody's like, you changed the arpeggio part from this song. And I was like, well, oh, shoot. I didn't think anybody would notice.
Yeah, I think anybody would notice that, right?
Yeah. And
The one rule we try to do is we try not to take any shortcuts. Not to toot our own horns, but so to speak. But we try to avoid the no pun intended thing. But
awesome.
But like we try intentionally not to dumb anything down because try to have a certain amount of respect for the parts. And it gets hard sometimes. Like we play this tune from Ninja Gaiden 2. Where I was working on the arpeggio part for like 15 years. I've just been doing it for a long time as like an exercise. And when I heard our clarinetist, Brian, he saw the sheet music and just played it like it was no big deal to him. I had to kind of buckle down and learn a new fingering for it so I could play in unison with him.
Right.
But we try not to take any shortcuts. We might embellish something to make it a little bit more interesting or to not have it repeat so much. But we try not to take any shortcuts.
So how did you know? So you went from initially this concept where you guys were just kind of dicking around for practice purposes. When did you have that aha moment where it was like all of a sudden, holy shit, this is a fucking band?
I think when we had like 7 things down that he and I could play together, and we were like, that's a show,
right?
And so we were like, if we get together, like, and they're pretty short. A lot of them, the old Nintendo ones are only like a minute and a half.
Right. I'm
like, if we could get like 30 minutes of this stuff down, it could easily be a band.
Yeah. I just remember the first time it was short. The number of people came together so quickly. Like the word got out and it was just like, okay, now we have 10 people. And Will is like the most insane drummer you can ever see in your life. And I remember I worked with him, and I was kind of like trying to think of a way to ask him to be in the band. And I don't even remember how it came up. He was like, hell yeah. Like, because he's so busy. He gets asked to be in every band that anybody ever has. And the first day, me and Ethan and Will were jamming, and we were just playing one song, and I was like, oh, that's it. Like it was just the Dark World theme from Zelda, from Link to the Past. Yeah, and we're just playing it. I'm like, oh my God, this can actually work. This can come together as an actual band. And then from there, it's just rehearsal.
Oh, what's crazy with Will is his recollection of the arrangements is astounding. And it's not just the drum parts. Like, we'll be playing something, and he'll kind of make a face, and he'll be like, are you sure that's the note? And I'll be like, shut up, drummer. Shut up, don't make more sheet music for us to write.
Fret, no dual dot error that I just made.
Yeah, we were playing Contra, and when he joined, we did a run through, and it was like he stopped. He's like, I don't think that's the right rhythm, and
because we were starting this one run a 16th note early.
Yeah, and he's just
how dare you?
Yeah, I know. And he's like, it wasn't that we were starting it early; it's that we were adding a note that wasn't there that started early. It's only 7 notes long, and we were playing at 8.
Yeah.
or whatever.
It was just
and
it was
he's
just
like,
a
"Oh, hold
little
on."
tiny change, you know.
I'm like, whoa.
And so he likes to keep it at first really faithful, you know.
Right. And so bringing that back home for a second, since you were doing that during Contra, and so the origin of your name, of course.
Okay, so that's kind of a funny thing. We just started spitballing. We had like a list of like 30 or 40 names,
And they were going to be game related somehow.
Yeah,
sure,
we had joke. Like my buddy Nevin was like, "How about Samus Hagar?" And I was like, or David Lee Sephiroth. I think we were trying that one.
Nice.
Chocobo Jackson.
Chocobo Jackson.
That was a fun one.
That one, Eric really wanted that one. Yeah. And for briefly, I think I said Funky Dynamite, which is a boss from Ninja Gaiden 2. It's a deep cut.
Yeah.
And Vinny was like, "Yeah, that'd be a good one." So we were doing that one for a little while, but a couple people in the band were like, "We're not a funk band." And I was like, "All right." So
That's fair.
And I think I said, "Yeah, that's true." And I was like, "Well, Harder Than Contra," because a lot of the tunes were really difficult.
Right.
And I think was it Will who was just like, "It's got to be, it's got to be Harder Than
I just
Contra."
remember we got on the Harder Than train, and we're like, well, Harder Than Ninja Gaiden doesn't really fit.
Yeah, Harder Than Battletoads and Harder Than Ninja Gaiden. I didn't think would
Battletoads,
Yeah,
yeah.
those Harder Than Ghouls and Ghosts for the Super Nintendo. You know, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
So Harder Than Contra. That's
So and the harder than part was it in reference to the game itself or in reference to you learning the tunes for the game?
absolutely
Yeah. It's
kind of both.
Both.
yeah. A lot of the tunes, like we'd sit there with a lot of the Ninja Gaiden stuff and just be like having to play it. Like, especially like the first level from Ninja Gaiden, we'd sit there play it at like 60 beats per minute.
Yeah.
Trying to like get it to sound like the song.
Slow down the reel.
Yeah.
That's what we used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
Play it at
Yeah.
half speed or something.
Oh man, it's crazy. The technology we got, it helps us out so much though, because the program that Ethan does our music in, we've all got on our computer, so we can just slow it down to whatever tempo we want.
Right.
And for me, I'm here and I just put it through the speakers and start at like 40 beats per minute.
Right.
And then 45 and 50. And
then all of a
eventually-
sudden it's 360 beats a minute.
yeah, and then I get to the point where I'm like, yeah, Ethan, I think I got this tune down. He's okay, so what BPM are you at? Oh, I'm at like 140. It's at 180. I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Up the mountain I go.
There's some soul crushing moments, but oddly enough, some of the songs end up just sounding better, a little bit slower.
Sure.
Like like Contra, for instance. We originally were trying to play it at game tempo, and we got there, and we're like, it sounds better if it grooves a little bit. So sometimes we'll back down a little bit, like 10, 15 BPM, just because it just sounds better.
Right.
A lot of these things that they're using, it's MIDI playing them, so they can make the note durations whatever they want. They don't have to take breaths, for the woodwinds. They don't have to do position shifts like on a guitar.
Right.
They don't have to change strings with a pick. So when we bump them down a little bit, some of them just honestly sound better.
Well, it kind of brings on a more organic feel to it as well. It's not, like playing to a click track versus just knowing your meter,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you can definitely tell when something has been just so, I don't know, put to the exact point.
Quantized,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I
Yeah,
mean, you kind of want that
absolutely.
little bit of variation once in a while. I do like watching people realize they fucked up somewhere in the middle and hoping nobody else caught it because they're like looking around doing this number and maybe I went a little slow, and then all of a sudden they're caught back up there like, okay, I'm back in. So
Oddly enough, the mistakes tend to happen in the easy ones.
Right.
Like, if we're playing like Zelda or something
Well,
like
those
that.
are the ones that I practice the least because
Sure.
I'm not stressed about it. I'm like, oh, okay, I breezed through it on the first try. So I'm like, that one's easy. And I'm sitting there working for 5 hours on 4 notes.
right.
And then the performance comes like, okay, trying to play Zelda. I'm like, Zelda.
And that,
Which boss battle? So clearly, you guys are, accomplished musicians to the nth degree. But let's bring this back a little bit. I mean, you're old school game fans. You're not just gamers, right? You're really, your hearts seem to be with, I guess, what you would call the retro outfits now.
yeah, you stay up to date on stuff, so you have like an Xbox.
I've got some of the newer stuff. Even all the new games that I play, they all are seated in old school stuff.
Right.
Like it's series that like Final Fantasy that started
Back in
way
whenever.
back in the day, and but I'll still play, no matter how bad they are, new Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, like Final Fantasy 15.
Oh, I played that for like 10 hours, and I was like, I have to get gas in a car,
Yeah.
and then I have to drive. But you can't drive at night.
And there's
My entire job is just to go get stuff.
a blonde-haired hillbilly mechanic girl.
Yeah. What's the point? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll try it, and but yeah, I get the consoles because there's RPGs are all you can't really change an RPG that much. So the genre is just easy for me. But you put me in a Halo map and I'm dead in like 4 seconds.
Right.
That's actually a lot of fun. Is we'll try to play 4-player Halo, and I have no sense of direction whatsoever.
Right.
So I get lost kind of immediately in Halo. So I spend the whole time screaming, "Where am I?
Where are you guys? I want to go kill you."
Like I can beat Ninja Gaiden basically on one life, but if I play Halo, it's like I'm lost and die on the first level.
It becomes a game within itself. Of if you get killed by Ethan. Shame on you.
Yeah, you should not be playing games anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
You've been shamed.
Well, so I always joke about this, but I work at a place that you might say stop for games.
Yeah.
And so, I'm thoroughly invested in the modern culture, but nostalgic towards the old school.
Yeah.
So every day people come in and they ask me for things like, do you guys have old Mega Man? I'm like,
Waiting! In your 6th grade mind. Remember the first time you pulled out the cartridge that said Mega Man 2 on it? We're not playing that. Now we are.
I have the anniversary collection on the
Me too.
Xbox One, so stuff like that. But they're the old saying of like, what's old is new and what's new is old. In game land, that's definitely true.
Yeah, and for me on the old games, I think what made it so that I could like sit up and play Final Fantasy VI for like 3 days, it was that they're not perfect. The graphics aren't super detailed, so your imagination has to stay involved with it.
Right.
When you're playing like really these new games are beautiful, they're incredible, but you don't have to do anything other than steer.
Right.
Like your brain doesn't have to connect with it. And I think having the limitation of just a couple buttons makes it so that the creators had to be a little more creative with functionality and what you can do probably why you could never jump in a damn game.
Right.
I just want to go over there. No, you can't.
You can't.
Because you're a knight that is going to save the entire universe, but you can't jump.
But that bush is only 6 inches high, and I can't go there.
No. That's clearly
No,
not
that's
for
an
you.
invincible bush.
It's got a force field.
Yeah,
I
we've
think
learned
the,
about
I think the limitations, definitely help with it. And this is kind of a hard thing to explain, but I think a lot of games, because they can do anything graphically, it seems like a lot of it is designed to try to make it look like reality.
Right.
So I'm not great with a lot
Uncanny
of
valley is that phrase that they use where it approaches a sense of, is it almost too real? And now you're not feeling like you're involved in something artificial.
Right. Yeah. Final Fantasy 15. We're going to have to get gas.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the company called Quantic Dream, but they did Beyond Two Souls, Heavy Rain, Indigo Prophecy.
Heavy Rain. Yeah, I've played that game.
Yeah.
That's real fun.
Heavy Rain, I think I spent like 10 minutes getting that fat cop to shake his fucking inhaler before I could move on with the rest of, like, dude, come on. I have an inhaler. It takes 30 seconds. I shouldn't have to go do a quick time event and shake this inhaler up and down and follow these on-screen prompts. And then he goes, and I'm like, that's it? That's what I get out of that? He should have had an asthma attack or something and flopped around on the ground and somebody should have saved him.
Yeah.
I tried to keep up for a little while, but after a while, it's like all the cut scenes and stuff like that in games. It's kind of started wearing on me, and I didn't like. It's funny, like I say Halo, but that's not even modern. Like for a lot of people, they say, "Oh, that is retro gaming." And
and then you look at the new Halos and the old school Halo fans, they're not fans of those. Halo 5, for instance, no co-op.
There's a 5.
No couch co-op for the first time ever in a Halo game. No co-op, and people lost their shit. They're like, how can you not have co-op in a Halo game? That's what Halo's all about, you know?
Yeah, right.
I remember playing Halo the first time, and I'm like, how is it you're steering these vehicles? Because this makes zero sense to me. It's like this wheel's going this way, and that wheel's going that way, and I'm trying to control 2 different sticks to steer one way.
Yeah. Whoever designed the Warthog. There's a 5. I didn't beat 3.
Yeah, Halo 5 Guardians, yeah.
Yeah, those, I've come to the conclusion, following certain titles over the years that it's impossible. Once it's like any nerdy thing, Star Wars or Star Trek or anything, new stuff is going to piss somebody off.
Wait a minute,
because
Star Wars is nerdy?
Wait, people get upset about Star Wars? No,
Star Wars is better than Star Trek.
Come on, man.
But
the people get these like they almost do fan fiction in their head on what they think the perfect one is going to be.
Exactly.
And so when it comes out,
they're writing their own movie.
Yeah, and it doesn't come out and meet their impossible expectations. Like, the movie sucked.
Right.
It's just
that game sucked. I play them all. I've played every Final Fantasy because I want to have an objective. And 12's become one of my favorite ones.
Right.
And
except for that license board.
Yeah. Oh, did you play the Zodiac one, the new one?
I did.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool where it limited you.
Right.
It stressed me out to begin with. I'm like, I don't know if I had the time to play this game like 4 times.
Remember that whole thing when that game first came out? If you opened up that one chest and you couldn't get that Spear of Destiny and I'd already played the game for like 40 hours and you're like, fuck you!
Yeah.
Starting over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now there's RNG tricks you can do to just pop right open.
That's crazy. Yeah, talking about the evolution of the game industry, and you brought something up like getting through something with one life, and it's you have lives and you had levels or whatever. Maybe the games weren't tremendously long, but they provided some kind of a challenge. It's not like Call of Duty and I got through the campaign in 3 hours and then I spent $60 on this game and that's all there is for me because I don't do multiplayer.
It never ends. Like I grew up thinking that I was the best Ninja Gaiden player in the universe, and then YouTube comes along and I see, like, I'm like, oh, I can beat it in one life. Oh, I can beat it without getting hit. And now there's people who can beat it without using their sword.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen this? Like they do what they call pacifist runs.
Yeah.
Or like we're trying to beat a Contra 3 for the Super Nintendo. And it's just like, I can get to like the last boss, but I'm not obsessive enough to actually get to
Here
where
comes
I
the
can beat
comments. Ethan can't beat Contra 3.
Yeah.
Loser.
I just haven't beaten it yet.
So Contra 3 is harder than Contra.
Contra 3 for the Super Nintendo is dramatically harder. But I saw a YouTube video of these 2 guys beating it where they're both using the same controller.
Yeah,
like
that was beautiful.
One guy was hitting one button and one guy was hitting the
Yeah,
other.
one dude steers and the other guy does like the ABX.
And they don't even use the special weapons. And they did it like I think on one life.
Yeah, it was insane.
Without getting
I don't think I have any
touched.
friends that I like enough to want to sit that close to them for that length of time.
And they did it live in
Yeah.
front of like a group of people who were paying to see it. And
That's
stuff like
crazy.
that.
Yeah, if you
And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not the best.
How
at
much
Ninja
sweat
Gaiden.
equity went into that?
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of creepy.
I like that.
Oh, just the deaths. Like when I beat the Ninja Gaiden 3, that was like the big badge of honor when I was a kid. If you could beat Ninja Gaiden 3, you were the man because it didn't have unlimited continues. And it's like now people can beat it, without using the sword. People can beat it holding the controller upside down and or using all these glitches and stuff like that. And it's like, all right.
And the modern day equivalent of that franchise is now the Souls franchise. Demon Souls, Dark Souls.
I think I typed into Google once because somebody was talking about Dark Souls. I'm like, I typed in "is Dark Souls" and Google suggested harder than
Ninja Gaiden. Yeah.
And all the answers were no.
Well, it is to me. I actually bought Dark Souls 3 a couple weeks ago, or a few months ago now.
And the controls.
I played it for like an hour, and I was like, okay, I think I'm done with this.
Yeah,
because that game is harder than.
Well, not only is it hard, but it's the concept of it's kind of roguelike, right? So you die, and then you go all the way the fuck back to the beginning, right? With half or less than half the health.
Yeah.
And you have to fight through all the shit that just killed you, but now you have way less resource to do it with.
Yeah, and for me, that goes back to the control thing, too.
Right.
Like, you got to run constantly when you're fighting a boss in that game.
Right.
And, so that takes up your left thumb, but you need to select your items with the D-pad.
And you still need to look around to see where you are.
So you're doing this weird, like, steering with your thumbs, looking around, then you got your other fingers coming up, and you're, like, switching around, like, this is too much stress.
Well, especially the pace, like...
but then you see people who just, like, run through it.
Yeah.
It's like
I'm a terrible person.
It's like they say in basketball, the pace of plays changed so much. It's the same thing in video games. Like like even the easy games when we were kids, like Mario Brothers, you ran the whole time.
Yeah,
right.
And
Secret
now
success.
In a game, like I've watched people play like things like Skyrim and stuff like that, and you just kind of take your time and like collect books and sort your menu.
But then you read some lore for 9 hours.
You get some experience points for that.
You go back to Dark Souls, and it seems like it's back to like the just.
So Demon Souls was basically the entry for that, and considered still to be the hardest of the entire series. However, if you've played through them all, it's kind of like you recognize the formula, so hence that kind of logically makes sense that the newest one is easier.
Sure.
If you've played them all. But yeah, so, going back to say all of those old school games, Ninja Gaidens and whatever, and on top of just the mechanics of them being hard for what they are, the music in that kind of cool 8-bitty, 16-bitty fashion, it was always, I felt like it always inspired you to want to move forward because, some of the pacing, the music's picking up, it's getting intense.
About that
we have that all the time when we're trying to figure out what tempo to play on, like what we were talking about earlier, like the tempo for like Contra. It's at a tempo that is stressful.
Yeah.
To just listen to, you're like, oh, I got to get going, man. I'm gonna die.
Yeah, we've wondering if the tempo of the game is dictating how fast the song is. Not like that the song speeds up and slows down if you move slower, but I think that when they were playing it, they were just like, okay, the pace of the machine guns and stuff like that seems to work with this tempo of this song.
Right.
Because we were playing it slow, and then we played along with the game. Like, Jesus, just like, but we were going like.
Right.
The first time we played it, and so.
And I remember playing games, and I wish I had thought about this ahead of time, but there used to be the timer element for games, right? Was a big thing. Beat the clock, and then as you get closer, as you get closer to your death, Mario Brothers absolutely. It's like, holy shit, the music's picking up, it's getting louder, it's getting faster, and you're like, I'm fucking nowhere near this. It's just not going to happen for me this time. Yeah,
pure panic.
I'm going to go ahead and just kill myself right now so I can start over.
It's going to take a death here.
8-bit suicide.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah. That's another game we play. Is Brian is very good at some types of video games and very poor at others. So we call it taking a death with Brian.
Nice.
Yeah, because we saw these speedrunners who were talking about like I guess you can. If you take a death at certain spots, it actually I guess it warps you to a certain checkpoint, or
it'll save you some pixels later. Or
somehow
something.
manages to make it quicker to play the game if you take a death.
Right.
So we have Brian be like, "Hey Brian, why don't you play Ninja Gaiden?" And he'd be like, "All right, I'm gonna start off by I'm gonna take a death."
That's my learning curve.
I'm just gonna take a death here on the first enemy.
All right, so now I know to the naked eye, just not dying here would be advantages, but it's Tetris, so I'm gonna take a death. And yeah, it was,
that's funny.
Good times.
No, man, the music element of those old games, I think the one benefit of modern technology and social media and YouTube and, all of a sudden there's people that are going back and reinterpreting stuff they remember from being kids.
Yeah.
And as musicians, the first thing a lot of people think is like that soundtrack. I remember the soundtracks to these games. And so the number of people in your band, to me, not only is it astounding that you coordinate all this stuff, but you have enough people who are of the same mindset, more or less, that you've clicked on a project that is that just kind of out of the ordinary.
Yeah. Well, that's the fun part about working with proper musicians, I guess we call like, an orchestral player or a horn player, a wind player. You just give them music and they can play it.
Right.
Guitar is so much more like there's a lot of improvising, there's a lot of ears, a lot of this and that. We can read music, but I don't memorize by reading music. I memorize the songs by playing them or even hearing it or, So some of the people, some of the horn section are like big time in the games. Like James is good at like modern games.
Yeah,
James is great at modern games.
Like Halo 3 or 4, I
He's
can't
a
remember.
Halo
He just
assassin.
destroyed his hat.
But some of the old games, just because of his age, our band's pretty diverse in age too.
I think James is the young one.
James,
right?
I think, is the youngest, and he's in his late 20s, I think. Who knows? We're not friends. And
Not anymore.
Well, he did temporarily have the nickname Rad Racer because we kept putting him all these games. We put him on Ninja Gaiden, Mega Man, and all this stuff. And
did we post a video of him playing Ninja Gaiden to YouTube or anything?
Yeah, where he yelled at you, because you were like, none of us were helping him except for Pat. And Pat's like, "Oh, your sword's longer than you think it is." And he's like, "You know what, Pat?" As he's just dying repeatedly. But we put him on, for whatever reason, Rad Racer is famously pretty difficult.
Right.
And we put him on Rad Racer. He'd never played it before. And he got to like level 5, which is like, I think there's only 7 levels in the game.
Right.
His first try.
First try ever.
Yeah.
So we were just calling him Rad Racer for a while.
Yeah.
And I think the next time he played it, he died a bunch of times. But,
Right.
But
Took a death.
He had a magic time. Yeah, it took a long death.
But yeah, so I guess to get back to the people who aren't intimately familiar with the music from their childhood, like some of us are, just recognized it as being cool tunes,
Right.
And thought it was a fun idea. And that's a great thing about those old games is that you had this 30-second loop that you had to make an interesting bit of music.
Right.
Like, there's not very many successful old games with bad music.
yeah.
It's kind of because you'll quit playing it.
Right.
You'll
It's
get
like
tired of that. And
Pong.
I even remember. I remember
Waka, waka.
when the music to games stopped entertaining me,
Right.
and that's when I started listening to music while gaming, and I would just so there's certain. I just remember it was
like
Two Rock.
Yeah.
Two Rock Dinosaur Hunter was the first game I remember.
God, for the N64.
Yeah. Me and my buddies were playing it, and we weren't thinking about it. We just threw on other music, and now whenever I hear the Godzilla soundtrack from that Godzilla movie, I think of Two Rock.
I think I started doing the same thing. It's like, I'd be like playing, if I was playing a PlayStation game, like if I was playing like I don't know, Metal Gear or something like that, I would put on, Satriani or Dream Theater or something like that while I was playing instead of listening to music.
Well, and that was the cool thing. You remember when the original Xbox came out?
Yeah,
the
you could
thing
put
was
your own music
you
on
could
it.
install your CDs onto the hard drive.
Yeah.
I put my
Yeah.
my other band's
That was
album on there while I was playing Grand Theft
game
Auto.
changing, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah.
But that was crazy.
Yeah.
And but you mentioned Turok, and I was like, oh, that's amazing. And then they rebooted it, and it was ass.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just it was garbage. But
I don't know if there's any weight to it, but my theory is that I think they've started scoring modern games more like how they score movies. because
So
they're like movies.
game budgets are on par,
They're
if not
insane, man.
higher than some movie budgets. And in fact, you talked about RPGs a few minutes ago. Like an Elder Scrolls title is like a 7-8 year development cycle.
Yeah.
So, and there's,
They spend 7 years developing it?
so
yeah.
yeah, I mean, Skyrim came out like 6-7 years ago, and it's crazy. So, and the number of people involved for just, the initial development, And then you have localization for all of the places that it goes out to. But yeah, I mean, these are huge scores, like John Williams level, symphonies that are getting involved in games now. And they have like movie directors getting on board to direct movies and stuff like that. So Guillermo del Toro is working on a project with Norman Reedus. And it was going to be a Silent Hill game, and that fell through and evolved into, I believe, what's now called Death Stranding, which is still a few years down the road. But I mean, this is. I don't know what his salary he's taken for this game, but it's huge. You know what I mean? It was going to be a Konami project previously, but now it's not because Konami and Hideo Kojima had a.
They had a big falling out.
They're not friends anymore. So.
Well, Guillermo's great. I just saw his new movie, The Shape of Water.
Shape of Water, yeah. I just went and saw that. Yeah, it was fantastic. I couldn't stop thinking of Creature from the Black Lagoon, though.
Yeah. Well, I watched Hellboy 2 the other night, and I was like, it's kind of funny. It's like he got Abe back in
That's
the
awesome.
movie,
I was waiting for Ron Perlman to show up, just looking like a cameo or something. Just put him in there somewhere. It would have been amazing.
Sophie Hawkins was great, man. Like, to do that whole
So
movie.
should I watch that movie?
Oh, absolutely.
You should.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Because some people really hated it because of like the imagery and stuff, but I thought it was fantastic.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, that's
I hear that a lot.
It's my new favorite movie.
Well said.
Bing. But yeah, it's the scoring is changing these things because I feel like the old games, like they were so limited with the sound that they had to make the melodies really strong.
Right.
Whereas now a lot of it's, the world's so big and there's so many hours that they have to come up with this atmospheric kind of just like a pad sound on a synth.
Yeah.
That can be interesting enough while they explore the world of Halo or whatever.
That's crazy.
But the old loops, especially for playing something like Castlevania. Sometimes Castlevania, the loops are only like 25 seconds long, and we will play it 3 times, and the song's only a minute and a half,
Right.
But if you're playing something for the Super Nintendo, like Secret of Mana, the loop will be like a minute and 45 seconds or something like that. So if you play it twice, you're looking at almost 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Or 3 minutes.
That's probably the biggest challenge we have, is making a song longer than 2 minutes.
Yeah, so sometimes we have to come up with medleys, and
medleys are fun.
We've been at the end of a medley and like drenched in sweat. And like, how long was that? We're like 3 minutes and 20 seconds. You're like, are you kidding me? We just played 7 songs.
Yeah.
But
so a medley being you're taking individual compositions and kind of working them into one master composition, right?
Yeah,
we've done it a couple different ways.
We're trying to. I think the ultimate goal is to play a game.
Right.
And so Castlevania is probably the series that we've got the most music out of. And at the end, the long game is that we want to make it, okay, we're playing Castlevania 1. And then we're just going to play the soundtrack to that game and fit it all into one piece of music.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that we don't have to be like, okay, well, here's level 1.
Right.
Oh, no, level 1 stopped. Time for level 2.
Vinny is great at that
Plus,
stuff.
then that locks you in chronologically. If you ever want to play that, then you kind of have to make them in a specific order to make sense to people. Whereas if it's one big composition, you kind of noodle with it however you want.
Yeah. And you really start to learn how far a lot of people have gotten in games.
Because they stop recognizing.
Yeah. Like with
Eric was joking about that. Like when we learned Waterfall from Contra, he's like, "I've never heard this song."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "It's level 3." He's like, "I never got to level 3."
Yeah, we're like, what do you mean? He was like, I just never got there.
This is the first boss battle in Demon Souls. I didn't get that far.
Yeah. I quit there. Yeah.
I know the opening cinematic. That's pretty much how far I've gotten in Dark Souls.
I know that it works. Dark Souls 3. I got to the first. Like the practice boss.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on, man. I know there's a trick to this. I'm not looking it up. I'm not cheating. Okay, I'm going to try a different game. I also bought Mega Man. Let's play that.
I think Ninja Turtles is like that, the original Nintendo.
The original, are you talking about the console version or the stand-up arcade version?
They're both great. But the one for Nintendo had a lot of
the side-scroller.
It had a lot of cool, it had a lot of overhead stuff too. Like you'd have the map and then you'd go
the
into
swimming
level.
part.
Yeah. And nobody could get past the swimming level. So they didn't know any of the songs, from the Technodrome and stuff like that. Yeah. It's kind of like that. Ghosts and Goblins, I think, is like that. Ninja Gaiden's probably like that for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. I bet there's people don't know what level 3 sounds like on Ninja Gaiden. I didn't get to level 3 on Ninja Gaiden until you basically sat there and said, okay, you're going to beat Ninja Gaiden today. I'm like, I don't want to beat Ninja Gaiden today. No, You're going to beat Ninja Gaiden today.
We invented a fun challenge.
He hijacked you and basically fucking force fed it to
we
you.
didn't have anything to do. We were just sitting around. He's like, "When's the last time you beat Ninja Gaiden?" Like, never. Look, here you go. We're playing, and we'll have these challenges to see how long you can play before you swear.
Right.
Yeah, and then
And-
somebody else's turn. Yeah.
Well, I swear as I'm putting the cartridge in the
Yeah.
machine, I'm like, fucking cartridge.
What am I doing to myself?
Right?
But yeah, those they're still so much fun. I never get tired of them. Like I said, I tried to keep up with the other systems. Like I think the most modern system I have is I have a 360. And how old is that? Like what, 10 years? Or something like that?
12, almost 13 years.
The 360 is 13
Yeah,
years old.
man.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Gotta get the time.
I'm a
Came out
Luddite.
in 2005.
And he wonders why he like keep breaking on him.
yeah.
Well, that's the funny thing.
Well, it's got these really pretty red lights.
I still have. I've had the same Super Nintendo for like, I don't know, 25 years or something like that. Same Nintendo. They all still work. I have now
It's
had
full of spit.
between my Xbox, my normal Xbox, and
secret weapon.
360. I've had 5 of them.
Yeah.
And I don't play them a ton. Mostly use them as a DVD player.
Right.
But like, it's heartbreaking when you've spent like hundreds of hours on Ninja Gaiden Black, which is insanely difficult.
Right.
And then the Xbox just locks
Takes
up.
a shit on you. Yeah.
Like, peace. Good luck on the next one.
I'm glad I spent hundreds of hours on locking.
Let me wrap this around a towel again and try to get the motherboard to sync itself again. There's so many homebrew recipes for fixing a
I heard
broken
something with a
360.
penny. It was
Oh
like the-
yeah, you can actually solder like coins to certain parts of the motherboard to get the connections to work again.
Oh, man.
People will wrap towels around them to
People
get
are
them to
geniuses.
overheat, and then the overheating actually resolders connections to
Oh,
the
yeah,
board.
yeah,
and
that's-
it actually works.
Yeah, that's actually a thing. You can even put like CPUs and stuff if you throw them in the microwave or in an oven. It's
Well, yeah, who doesn't do that though?
yeah, obviously normal. Most stuff. Yeah,
Hey, baby, can you take that taco out of there? I need to get my
I really
computer.
gotta
I
bake
need
my
that-
CPU real quick if you know what I mean.
The fun. I liked how
Wow,
the.
chicka, wow, wow.
Did you have an original PlayStation
I did.
with the disc tray? Like how you have to you can hit the button, start it up, and then it wouldn't work unless you flipped it
You
upside
flip
down.
it upside down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
I
a
don't know how that even logically makes sense.
think it's
I must be the
the late-
luckiest person with consoles. I've never had a problem with consoles.
Well, now that we have basically illustrated that to the gods of broken consoles, you're
I know.
pretty screwed. Yeah, you're gonna go home. You're gonna load up your copy of Battle of Olympus for the NES.
That's a
And away
hard
it
game.
goes.
Dude, that's like my favorite. That's my favorite
That
old
game's
school game.
a blast.
You know, it's also a tangent of tangents. I know, but some of those old games, no maps.
No,
Right.
no.
Good luck fucking
Yeah.
remembering where you were. And,
Yeah.
it's like, I'm
Oh,
walking
especially
off the
Metroid,
screen.
where every level looks identical
Yeah.
except for a different color.
Oh, man.
Did you ever play the Lord of the Rings game for Super Nintendo?
I did.
They only did one, right? Because it wasn't a success.
That's all they could do.
Yeah.
You had a
wasn't a
map,
success.
but it was basically a picture of the map from the book.
Right.
Oh, man.
And you're like, and then the steering was like in Shadowgate, where forward or up was always forward,
Shadowgate.
but it wasn't actually like north or south or anything. So oh man, me and my buddies played that game for hours and got nowhere.
I remember taking like old school D&D style where I'm taking sheets of graph paper as I'm playing these games and I'm trying to draw myself a map as I go. And then lo and behold, 30 something years later, this game comes out called Atrian Odyssey for like the DS. And the whole concept of this game was with your stylus, you have to draw your own map. And it was like a super hardcore dungeon grindy, really high difficulty level. And if you forgot to take a note on something, you were screwed. Oh, hey, there's a chest here. And you would have to remember where everything is.
Oh,
and
my
then I'm
God.
like, man, this is just like back in the old days, original Zeldas.
Yep.
Good luck finding that
Oh
stuff
yeah,
again. You
yeah.
know?
Everybody had their Zelda map and their what was another good one?
You know what's,
Metroid. You know?
Yeah.
you know what's really funny is like when I was a kid, I thought the Zelda map was huge,
Yeah.
and it's itty bitty.
Yeah. Well, and so now that you've played it a
gotta
million
walk all the way
times,
across.
You
Yeah,
can get to like the Death Mountain in like 13 screens.
yeah.
My buddy's grandma
Something
beats
like
that.
that.
game every day.
That's
I had a
funny.
friend like that in
That's-
Orlando.
yeah.
His grandma could beat the game like in 20 minutes, and she
Yeah.
just did that every day.
Oh yeah, I think maybe you told me about it then. Because
Yeah.
she's like, did you know you can get the Ganon without a sword?
yeah.
Remember
You can't beat him, but you
the
can beat him.
old Sierra PC game like King's Quest? You'd walk across the screen and then you get so many screens in, and then all of a sudden you're back on the screen you started on.
Oh, right.
It's they're flat earthers back then.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just not going to end.
Sorry, man.
It's all just a constant loop. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, with as far as what you guys are doing now, I mean, I know that you play shows.
Yeah, we've been focusing on recording right now.
Right, which,
trying to get some
yeah,
stuff
I'm
out.
looking at your super awesome.
Everybody can see my hands doing this.
Yes.
Yeah. Imagine, if you will, a recording console.
He's pantomiming and he's naked. Yeah, no, it's so the recording element of this. I mean, now another quick side tangent. I'm familiar with Ethan because of the Janitors of Chaos, which we talked about on a previous show. And so getting a vibe for the level of just what you guys dig into on some of these projects with the musicians that I've come across, like y'all, I'm guessing this is a fairly intricate body of work to get not only the number of people to record, but the level of detail to get the songs right to the source.
Yes. So we tried. It doesn't help that we're all kind of perfectionists on this. So right off the bat, we tried to record a quick demo.
Okay.
So any corner I could cut, I cut.
And as we talked about off air before we started, Pat, you're recording everything yourself, right? You're more or less responsible for the...
Yeah, I'm doing all the production, engineering, mixing stuff.
Okay. Button pushing, basically.
Yeah, I'm the button pusher guy.
Cool.
And so initially we thought, well, maybe it'll be easier to record the horns as a group and just get them in. You know, a lot of cool Motown stuff to do it that way. And
Worked on paper.
yeah, and then
that could have also been a cool band name.
worked on paper. But I found that became harder and harder. And then so I was like, okay, well, let's pare it down. Let's do it in 2s or 3s or something. So, and then it just kind of came, oh, we got to dig in. So luckily, as we kind of talked about before, the songs are short. So it's not like we're getting people to hit a 5-minute tune, you know. So we're doing them in small chunks. So initially the idea was to do 3 songs at a time, but you start with the drums. And Will came in, and we had 3 scratch tracks ready for him, and he knocked those out in like 3 takes.
Oh, well, he's a machine.
And then he's like,
he
hey,
could
we should do another song. I'm like, well, we don't have scratch tracks for him. I don't need scratch tracks. Just throw the click on. And so we hammered out, and then that's the list of the tunes we're doing. And
That's my Pro Tools click impression, by the way.
That's right on. And so now we just kind of work out a time where, you know, whoever can come in, we'll record them doing each tune, you know, once or twice. And the players in this band are so damn good.
So it's not like you're doing a million takes necessarily.
No, it's not that arduous. I mean, it's actually more my end a lot of times, just getting it to sound right more than it is their performances. I mean, there's a few spots where like maybe I'm like, okay, well, I missed that you were a slight amount flat on that one, so we'll nudge it. But
auto tune it.
yeah, just go, you know, because again, we're playing instruments that don't go together.
Right.
When you have a clarinet player playing a high note, and you play that exact same note on a guitar, they're the same note technically,
right?
But they're not the same frequency because they're not perfectly dialed in.
Well, they have different timbres and everything too.
And so like there's a lot of times if Ethan and I are playing like on the 15th or 17th fret of the high E string, we'll have to like pitch it because guitars aren't in tune up there. It's just kind of an imperfect instrument. And then trumpets and clarinets, they're all imperfect instruments too. So in order to get it all sound good, that's the hardest part, is actually being in tune. And these players are so good. I think there's only one time we had to have Brian came in twice. That's because he does 2 instruments. So we had him do his bass clarinet first, and then his regular clarinet. And James did his bari sax, and actually he hurt his hand, so we're waiting on him to get healed up so he can do his alto. And then all we have left is guitars after that, and that's gonna be a nightmare.
Yeah,
there's some other adjustments. So, you know, sometimes we have to kind of dial back on articulation. Like, so if we're doing like that doesn't always work.
Right.
Some stuff. Sometimes it sounds great because with the differentiation, but sometimes it just makes things sound a little sloppy or out of tune. So you have to figure out, like, should I just play the note straight, or should I add a little bit of
sass? Yeah, some sassafras.
Yeah, so that's basically it. It's just time consuming, and but it's one of my passions is recording. I just find it so fun.
And so is the goal, at least as far as the recording aspect, to put out an album?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we've got what is it, 6 or 7 tunes?
Yeah, you guys have this.
About 8. Got about 8 tunes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, there's this. They have this in their studio. There's this whiteboard that's basically looks like some kind of a player map of something, but it's got all these songs on there that they're working on. So yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you can see that there's a lot of empty spaces for J.M. James. And then there's none for
called
Ethan
out.
or Patrick, so we've got all of our stuff to do. Yeah, man, it's a blast. You just come in here and hang out. Whoever wants to show up can show up, and we just kind of make it as chill as possible.
Just plug it in whenever you're available. Come on down.
Yeah, and I've paid in previous bands. I think we paid like $10,000 or $11,000 to record an album for 1 week, and so it's just this stressful event that you're like, okay, I'm practiced up. Then you get there and nothing works.
Nothing works the way you want it to go.
So I've always wanted just my own studio where I could go at my own pace. If I didn't like something, I could just undo it.
Right.
And I wouldn't have to worry about losing $500 because I had a studio that day. So this has been pushing me to get that dream fulfilled. So that's kind of what was my goal for 2018 personally, was to get my studio up and running a lot better. So
and
the band
there it is.
self-sustains pretty well. I mean, half the band is music teachers, the other half is repair technicians, and then Pat's the recording genius. So we got everything covered.
Yeah.
Loosely.
How does it work? Just personal curiosity.
push the button.
That's it? Man, there goes 20 years of my life.
Pro Tools, it just fixes it for you.
I know. Spacebar? As far as licensing goes, are there legalities involved in rearranging this stuff? Or
I don't know.
We're not sure how that works yet.
should I delete that question?
No, actually, if somebody knows, shoot us an email. That'd be awesome.
Because we've seen bands putting out
I mean,
albums all the time,
bands do it all the time, so there's got to be a loophole, a loophole workaround.
Probably we just don't get any publishing.
Creative Commons, don't get paid for it.
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, and if they want to, come after a lowly band for making some stuff, that's okay.
It's a tribute. It's a tribute album.
What are they going to take from us?
Yeah, we take
my birthday away.
We do take some liberties with some stuff. So a lot of them are I think we've done a lot of arranging on stuff like Secret of Mana, where it's like, it does have the original melody and stuff like that, but sometimes we write completely new stuff in there.
So recording aside, you guys play in shows. Coming from wherever the hell you guys all come from, how often do you get to rehearse together? And then how often have you gone out and played a show and you guys hadn't seen each other in who knows how long?
Oh, that's a good question. So when we're not recording, it's pretty much weekly.
Okay.
We were for a while doing like the full ensemble every week. We started realizing it wasn't always necessary, to have everybody here. Will is so on that he doesn't really need to see us every week to kill it.
Right.
Just because he knows these songs so well and he's such a great drummer. But for a lot of us, sometimes not everybody's familiar with the tunes, so they have to hit them a little more frequently, not because of any inability, but just because they don't know the material that well.
Right.
So, I need a lot of practice. I'm one of those people that I need to practice every day, partially for nerves.
There's guitars in his hand right now.
No, he's the Jimmy. Are you Jimi Hendrix? Like you're walking around town with your guitar strapped to your back.
He never doesn't have his guitar.
I feel
with him.
naked if I don't have a guitar.
Really?
So, nobody even gives me a hard time about it anymore.
That's
when I was
funny.
younger, they'd be like, "Can you leave the guitar at home?" I'd be like, "I can stay at home with my guitar."
You can come to my house.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an inspiration to how lazy every other guitar player is.
I just need it. It's like a security blanket or something. But
I practiced for 5 minutes last month.
Nailed it. Not in a row.
No, that was spread out over the course of 24 hours.
I've tried to go. I've made it 2 days without practicing before.
Yeah.
Before I'm just like.
Were you like strapped into a bed somewhere and couldn't get up, or?
I get really antsy, really anxious.
Him and I have totally different relationships with our guitars. Mine, he needs his constantly, and I need mine enough to realize that I need to work at it.
Yeah.
Like if I get comfortable playing something, then I get lazy. So it kind of helps me to take some time off from playing. Once I come back, I don't know. It kind of feels where my starting point is, and just kind of knowing, okay, I've got my chops are here, good enough. But when the gig's coming up, I need more.
Right.
I just play enough to stave off the self-loathing. That's basically just trying to keep the dark thoughts away.
How often are you guys playing shows?
When we're not recording, it's at least once a month, I'd say.
Once every couple months, usually.
We had a good run where it was like every 3-4 weeks for a while.
Yeah.
And then we decided to refocus on recording.
Yeah. Once we get this finished, we'll be able to hop back into practicing and everything. But we've got a few. Nothing official enough to say, but we've got a handful of things in the mix for early summer.
Yeah.
To do another gig. The big challenge is actually just fitting us on a stage.
Yeah.
I mean, we've played the High Dive a few times down in the Fremont area, and it works out, but it's like sardine can, you know.
You're sharing a controller at that point.
Yeah, it's
And Pat, Eric, and myself, we're kind of the rambunctious moving around types. And so it can be a little difficult on a stage like and a High Dive's a good stage. It's just 10 people, you know?
Right.
So you're kind of like going like, oh, excuse me. I think one time, I think it was either the High Dive or maybe it was the Sunset, where like I tried to turn around and knocked off the sheet music of the very sax player, and he's going like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And I'm going, oh, I'm sorry, I had to.
Because they're reading their music on stage. They're not committing the songs to memory.
Well, that's another difference between like guitar players and wind players is guitar players grow up memorizing music. That's how we learn to play. Is you just memorize it, and and to be fair, I mean, the horn players, they play their instrument all day long because they're teachers.
Right.
That's what they do constantly. So having the time to memorize all the tunes, whatever. When you can just sit and look at it, and play it, what a luxury. But
if somebody ever put a piece of music in front of my face and said, "Here, fucking play this,"
this is for you. This is what you got to do today.
I would just turn around and leave, and I wouldn't say a word. I'd just be like,
that's the joke. How do you get a guitar player to stop soloing? Is you put sheet music.
Put sheet music in front of him. It's totally true.
Yeah.
It.
What do you mean? Tablature is not sheet music?
Good enough for me.
Doesn't tablature predate sheet music?
It does, yeah.
Because the lute.
Tablature was the first guitar music. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So it's legit, guys. Stop telling me it's not.
Quit being
Exactly.
dicks.
Yeah, I mean,
how you learn it.
they both have their strengths. If you're trying to learn, Bohemian Rhapsody's guitar solo, a tablature is honestly better than the notation, in my opinion, because some of the rhythms are.
I just woke up one day and I knew
a little
it.
weird. Yeah, exactly. Just natural.
Osmosis.
Self-taught, no lessons. Thank you,
very
Dad.
much.
But learning the fingerings that Brian may actually use,
Right.
it's better in the tablature. If you use the notation, you might play everything in the wrong position and not get the articulation there. But the notation definitely helps. I always
That's the
equate
most technical discussion I've ever had on the show, by the way, just so you know.
Oh, we'll go.
Oh yeah.
We will redig the rabbit hole.
But notation is definitely great. I mean, I always equate it to it's kind of like having all of the ingredients in like making a cake,
Right.
but you don't know like how long you're supposed to cook it for, or like how long to preheat the oven or something like that, or the amounts to use. So they're both great. They both have their strengths.
I tell my students it's just two dialects.
Yeah.
If you want to learn how to communicate with a piano player, you need to know standard notation. If you just want to play guitar, then just learn tab.
Right. And what do you tell somebody who wants to learn how to play a Ninja Gaiden 2?
Just take a death here.
Just gonna take a death. Just patience. It's really just honestly a lot of patience. And you just you take it just beat by beat.
We'll help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean learn to play the game or the music?
The game.
Oh, yeah.
The game?
Come on over.
You'll come
Give up.
over.
We
and help
are
me play
the
it?
best teachers on how to play Ninja Gaiden.
Just
Nice.
more spike.
It's just
more,
constant,
more spike, more liver killing energy drinks.
constant heckling.
I think we've literally tried that as advice. It's like, I cannot get past this boss. I'm like, have you had a spike yet? It's like, just 2. Have you tried 3?
It's one step away from a crack dealer, just so you
I
know.
know we
we're
are
pushing.
working on.
Have you tried this
We're
string?
trying to get endorsements.
Endorsement.
Spike
deals.
for life.
Spike for life.
But
Spike.
yeah,
Dragon.
man, that's one of our favorite things to do to new friends or even bandmates is we'll just have them play games, and then we heckle the hell out of them.
Yeah. Tell them what worthless pieces of shit they are.
Yeah. Oh man, you suck.
You can't hang out here anymore. You're out of the band, man.
I'm better at the dishing it out thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna lie, playing Base Wars with Pat is definitely traumatizing when he's screaming at me like "Pain Train's coming."
Oh, we gotta find. We'll send you the link to that. Is it?
I think it's on our Instagram.
Yeah, we live streamed that. That was pretty fun.
Oh yeah,
my
I'm definitely
God.
gonna want to get some of those, some of that stuff for the pages, and we'll post it up there as well. So,
Yeah.
what's the ultimate goal for Harder Than Contra? Do you guys work towards an end? Or?
You know, we'd really like to play things. That I think we're ideal for like Comic-Con and things. Of
Oh
that
God,
nature.
dude, that'd be fucking amazing.
Playing those
Backfest,
types
yeah.
of things. That's kind of the big goal is just play those types of venues because so far, we love playing anywhere.
Right.
But it's kind of funny. I took it completely for granted. The first being kind of the MC front guy of the band. The first show I did that, I didn't tell anybody what we were.
Yeah, and after I got fired from that position for saying all the wrong
band
names.
name.
Oh yeah, I said our first gig, I was talking, and I first of all forgot everybody's name as I was announcing it
Wah, wah.
while being heckled, and then I called us the Janitors of Chaos.
We're the Janitors of Chaos.
I mean, like it was a big auditorium, so nobody could really understand what I was saying.
Right.
And so
It just went up to the rafters,
so
but
it was
you
a short.
caught it.
It was a short
Yeah.
career before they're like, oh, so Pat's gonna talk for us from now on. All right. Fine.
Yeah, and but the first one I did, I didn't tell anybody what we were, and I heard somebody go, "Are they playing video game music up there?" Oh yeah, we play music from video games. Rad, like just a random downtown show. I mean,
And they used the word rad.
they did
so,
say
yeah.
rad. I believe that was quoting. I think it was a
Bitchin'.
choir of rad.
But we don't play smooth jazz.
Well, not anymore.
Yeah, we're retired. We had one show where we
can't.
were a smooth jazz act.
Well, if you got a soprano sax player in your band, you could have that Kenny G kind of thing going
I
on
mean,
too.
we got a guy.
I got a guy.
We got a guy on
Nice.
call with all the saxes.
So, you guys got anything coming up that you want to plug?
Just this album. It's
Yeah.
going to be coming out soon. I swear.
Yeah.
Soon. Well, soon in musician language means when the next Elder Scrolls game comes out.
Yeah, we're right on pace.
We're on Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah. So
Twitter, and
how
all
do
that.
people get a hold of you? How do they follow your stuff? Where do they find you?
Facebook's a great way to go. Facebook.com/Harder Than Contra. We're on Twitter, although it's Harder Than Contra.
Without
because
the A?
there's not enough letters to get
This
harder
is
than.
true.
We got a bunch of stuff on it, a bunch of cool videos on Instagram. We tried to. Every once in a while I'll post like if somebody has a high score in the band, like Will destroyed Resident Evil.
Oh,
2.
dude.
he
Will's
did
a Resident Evil psycho. He got
Like-
me to play Resident Evil 7. That's a fun.
I think his
newer game.
time.
I
is
have
like,
it in VR. It's fucking ridiculous.
I crapped myself
Yeah.
playing that game. It's so awesome.
It played in VR, and you'll crap yourself twice.
yeah.
Yeah, put on the plastic sheets when you're playing it on VR. 'Cause,
Yeah, I think Will's time in Resident Evil 2, I think, is like world worthy. It's like top 10 in the world.
Will's
stuff
crazy
like that.
good at Resident Evil.
But we-
speaking of Resident Evil,
We had some we had some fun competitions like that. We did a show where we offered a free T-shirt to anybody that could beat Will at Mortal Kombat 2,
yeah,
or they could beat me at Street Fighter 2.
nice.
And our T-shirt supply stayed just fine.
So not only are you guys recording musicians, playing musicians, touring musicians, you're also competitive gamers in your own right.
We try.
in your
And
own little
I've said it
club.
I think
to
a
the microphone.
handful of us actually do have some pretty good
Yeah.
claims to fame in the video game world. I mean, Ethan's probably the best Street Fighter 2 player I know. I got one other guy that I want to put him up against.
You see, my big weakness with Street Fighter 2 is I'm not as good at every character as some of the
Yeah.
competitive guys. They can beat with Dalsim or
Yeah.
Zangief.
But
and
Will's
I stick
crazy.
with-
Will's crazy good at Mortal Kombat.
You beat Final Fantasy 7 with just the Buster Sword, didn't
Yeah,
you?
that's kind of my thing. And I beat Super Metroid in under 50 minutes once.
That's crazy. Speed runs. That's
Yeah.
what they're known for. So
But I
we're,
did it in 1999.
That's amazing. 19. I don't even remember
I made
1999.
my own map, nerds.
Isn't that a Prince song?
1999.
Yeah, that's funny.
2000.
I think I was listening to that.
I missed that guy.
Oh man. So
That
we're
was a hard
definitely we're gonna keep an eye on what you guys are doing. We'll post some links up on the on our Facebook page. We'll send me some other links for your
Yeah.
videos.
We do have some stuff on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a lot of great videos. Our
YouTube's
buddy-
probably the best place to just check us out right now.
Yeah,
Right.
just type in Harder Than Contra. There's a bunch of killer videos. Our
Go on
buddy-
their super active SoundCloud page.
Oh,
if you
God.
want,
I keep forgetting about it.
if you want to get the Final Fantasy VI going on there.
Our buddy Thomas shot a bunch of killer live videos of our shows.
Got some good videos
at the High Dive, so you can see us playing Music Guide or Final Fantasy VII and stuff like that.
Awesome.
And these tracks, now that we're up and running studio wise, I'm thinking next couple months, hopefully they'll be ready for release.
Awesome.
Now I just gave us a hard deadline.
Yeah.
So now we
no
have to
pressure.
Get done.
No pressure. And then when I get into post, then I actually change the date to like next week.
Yeah. It's coming up next week.
Yeah. That's his voice, I swear to God.
That's totally what he sounds like.
Awesome. Well, guys, I think that's a show. I appreciate you letting me invade your space. This has been
Thanks for having
awesome.
us.
I am really looking forward to hearing what you guys got. So I know you're going to give me the super advanced copies.
Dude, we'll get you hooked up before I have one.
Awesome. So,
Spaceballs.
want to thank the Janitors of Chaos again for letting me. Oh, did I do it too? Thanks to Harder Than Contra for hanging out here on the edge, and we'll talk to you guys next time. See you later. Man, such a fun episode. I can't tell you how fun that episode was. I hope y'all enjoyed the episode. If you've heard it before, I hope you enjoyed the revisit. And if you hadn't heard it before, well, congratulations. Your life is now better because of it. I hope you guys continue to follow Harder Than Contra on all of their social media sites, which I will post on the Misery Point Facebook page, so you can check it out for yourself. Cool videos, cool links. Just an awesome, cool band. And as always, don't forget, you can subscribe to Misery Point Radio on iTunes, on Google Play, on Spotify, and on iHeartRadio. And coming soon, of course, to all of those fancy podcatcher type things. Then don't forget to check out the website, miserypointradio.podbean.com. Send me an email, miserypointradio@gmail.com. And of course, look for Misery Point Radio on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter. Please, feel free, send me a message. Who do you want to hear? Who do you want to see? And if you're an artist or a musician or an entertainer and you want to come on the show, let me know. I'd love to have you on. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next time.